Hi everyone, welcome to Frank and Frank Auto Repair. Today we're going to be going over the 9 most common problems on the SC300. I made a similar video for the SC400 a couple months ago and it was well received. I got a few suggestions on how to improve the video for this next one, and so I've taken them all into account and I hope that this one is better for all of you. Number 1 on the list are the trunk and hood struts. Both the trunk and hood are on the heavier end in this vehicle, and over time those struts just start to wear out. It's a really simple fix as with any hood and trunk strut, but it will likely need to be done if you buy an SC300 today. Second thing on the list are the interior trim pieces. That's both along the door and around the vents. And just like for the SC400, it's very difficult to find replacement door panels, window trim, and uncracked vents. Used part prices continue to go up over time as the car becomes rarer and rarer, but this fix isn't necessarily essential to having an operating car. Number 3 on the list is the VSV actuator, and this is what controls the heat flow into the cabin. So what will happen is this actuator will fail and it will prevent any warm air from entering the cabin. So it'll seem as if your heater core is not working and you're not getting any hot air, but all it is the VSV actuator is not actuating and it's not opening this coolant flow to the heater core. A quick fix is to change around the positioning of the hoses and bypass the actuator itself. That way you're always getting heat. It is a good fix for the winter when you just need heat all the time. These pieces are a little bit more difficult to find as the car becomes more rare. If you're lucky, you can pick up a used one somewhere, but ultimately the bypass works all right. Number 4 on the list are faded headlamps. So the entire case for both the fog and the headlamps will very badly fog up. Even if you treat them with some sandpaper and grit down the outside, the inside of the glass will likely still have some fogging. You'll either have to completely replace them, which can be quite pricey, or take them apart. It actually is a little difficult to repair because you have to bake the lens together after taking them apart, which is a little more than the average person is willing to do. Number 5 on the list is a failing window regulator. So just like in the SC400, it's common that after many years, your driver or passenger side window regulators start to fail, and the window no longer goes down at the same pace and eventually will stop. Again, this is not super difficult to fix. It just requires taking off the door panels and going from there. Number 6 on the list, also the same as the SC400, are the climate control cluster and the gauge cluster needles. The LEDs will burn out in both. The AC control unit will completely fail and you'll have to find a used replacement, which isn't too difficult to find. I have a few spares myself. Or you can purchase an aftermarket replacement. There is one that is made that is completely touchscreen. For the gauge cluster itself, you'll have to take it apart yourself and get to those bulbs and solder them on the board, or you'll need to take it somewhere and get them to do it for you. I had a comment from StillPup77 on my last video offering a suggestion of a company to rebuild the gauge clusters for the SC300 and 400, and their suggestion was this company called Tannen Electronics. I've never used them myself, but it doesn't hurt to try, and you have at least one testimonial from a comment on my last video. 7th on the list is power steering leaks. This is a little different than in the SC400, which has an infamous leak of the pump, and the pumps will constantly fail on top of the alternator. Because it's a different engine in the SC300, the alternator is not underneath the power steering pump, and it's actually not the pump itself that's failing a lot of the time. It is a leak between the high pressure hose and the pump itself. Pricing on replacing this part isn't cheap, but it isn't the most difficult job, and you should be able to do it yourself. Number 8 on the list is the alternator. Still, as I mentioned, it's not underneath the power steering pump, but it is actually still prone to failing because what can possibly happen is the engine will leak oil from the distributor O-rings, spill into the alternator and gunk it up, which will fry your alternator. This happens a lot less than an SC400 as the design is a lot better. Last on the list are the lower control arms. They can be quite expensive to replace and difficult as things do get rusty underneath. Thanks to one of my comments on my last video though, it was suggested to use MK4 Supra control arms, which are considerably cheaper as a replacement. So hopefully that helps some of you guys. And thank you to Tone Low the writer for that suggestion. I'd like to end the video by saying the SC300 is a fantastic video. This isn't meant to discourage you from purchasing one. It's merely just to provide some information. I know a lot of the comments on my last video suggested that I was against the SC300 or 400 design and thought it was a bad car, and I just want to say that that is completely untrue. I own an SC400. I think it's a fantastic, wonderful car. I just hope that people are aware of things that can go wrong and are prepared both financially and mentally for when that time comes. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and check out my 100 subscriber giveaway video and to find out how to enter to win a Amazon Echo Auto.